Koch brothers are now open to buying Democrats. Americans for Prosperity, the political arm of the Koch network, they are now open to buying Democrats. Oh joy. Oh joy. Oh joy. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. And yes, indeed, oh joy, we have one more buyer for the Democratic Party. And in this kind, it's the Koch brothers. Now, under normal circumstances, the Koch brothers typically really only give to Republicans. But they've been having somewhat of a spat with Donald Trump on issues of trade. And if we're being honest, their other political objectives under Trump was accomplished. They got their tax cuts. They love those tax cuts. And so now it's the other stuff that they're having problems with. I strongly suspect also that the Democratic Party has moved so far to the right, meaning the established party, that many of these guys are very similar to Republicans anyway. I mean, look at Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin, if I am not mistaken, has said that he would have voted for Trump or vote for Trump. Well, potentially is open to voting for Trump. My point is, some of the priorities that these guys have on issues of trade and immigration, and in this odd way of pushing back against Trump, fall within maybe the window with which somebody like the Koch brothers would support. And I strongly suspect what they know in this case is, if they support these guys have every political incentive in the world to just lean to the right. Just lean. Can't get you on everything, but there are issues that we care about greatly, and on those issues you will lean. It's kind of like Cory Booker getting paid by AIPAC. They know that they can't get Cory Booker to, it's not AIPAC, it's another group. But they know they can't get Cory Booker to bend on everything, but they know they can get him to bend on issues that they need him to bend on when it's important. So let's take a look at this story. I found this story to be awesome because of the way they're going about it. It's clever. It's not, I strongly suspect that they know that they're radioactive for any Democrat that they're going to support. However, if the group is just focusing on a very issue-specific basis and this is grassroots, issue-specific, we just care about the issues, then maybe there'll be some Democrats that will toe various lines, in which case they can give them their support. The Koch brothers, or the Koch-backed American for Prosperity, has opened its doors to backing Democrats. Let's go to the story itself. In a memo distributed to employees and activists, Emily Seidel, CEO of the Koch-affiliated Americans for Prosperity, said the organization is going into the next round of congressional elections being open to backing Democrats, and the primary fight as long as they support some of the network's proposed policies. AFP or AFP Action will be ready to engage contested U.S. Senate and House and state level primary races, including Republicans, Democrats, Independents, or otherwise, to support sitting legislators who lead by uniting with others to pass principled policy and get things done. Essentially, if you toe our line, we'll give you cash. If you toe our line, we will give you cash. Now, what is the incentive here? Think about this for a moment. You have a political system that's run by cash. It's ensconced in it. I've often said you have dollars or you have pitchforks. One of those things is going to be pushing and compelling that particular politician. And in a situation where that politician spends 75% of its time begging for cash, without those pitchforks, it will be cash. And I will put to you, and I think most Americans at this point accept, that our system is ensconced with, runs by cash. 90% of the races that are won by the side with the most money. Now, if you know that, if you're a shrewd politician and a person running for office and you want to get elected, maybe you want to do good things. And even if you want to do good things, you know you have to get into office in order to even do those good things. What do? 90% of the time is won by the side with the most cash. What you're going to do is you're going to do what you need to do to get that cash. And you're going to say, I'm principled, and I'm taking this cash, and this cash in no way is changing my behavior or policy or anything. But you know in the back of your mind that the only way you're going to get that cash is if you toe that line. The incentive in this process is for you to toe the line. You have to get elected, right? You have to get elected. If you want to be a good guy, you have to get elected. If you want to get those good policies, you have to get elected. My point is this. It's somewhat of an insidious way. In the way our political system runs, cash infects the process. And in this one very specific case, just like in many other cases, toe our line, you get the cash. We don't care if you're independent. We don't care if you're a Democrat. We don't care if you're a Republican. We know we can't even get you on everything. But they don't want to get you on everything. There are some issues they don't care one iota about. But on the issues they do care about, they want you to toe that line. Toe the line, you get the dollars. How on earth is this not bribery? How is this not bribery? It's holding out money for the highest bidder. And in this case, or for the person who's willing to accept the cash for the favors. The move opens the door to Democrats, comes after recent disagreements with lawmakers in Trump on how they've handled the immigration status of dreamers. Immigration brought into the country as children. The two sides have disagreed on trade policy, with Trump remaining firm on tariffs that have been implemented on goods coming from China. For those candidates receiving the group's help in 2019 and 2020, they would get the reinforcement of 4 new political action committees based on issues. Based on issues. That's the catch. That's the hook now. It's issues. Based on the issues they've been actively engaging on. The letter shows the 4 PACs will be called Economic Opportunity, Uniting for Freedom Expression, Uniting for Free Trade, and Uniting for Immigration Reform. Now, most people aren't politically astute. And so when they see paid for by United Freedom Expression, that doesn't sound bad. That doesn't sound bad. United for Free Trade. What's wrong with free trade? It's called free, right? United for Immigration Reform. Like, people don't necessarily know the connections with these PACs and the organization that these PACs work with, so people aren't necessarily astute that when they see a Democrat with Uniting for Free Trade or Free Expression or whatever, that's backed by the Koch brothers. Now, they may recognize the Koch brothers. They may not necessarily recognize those PACs, which is kind of the point. Which is kind of the point. Meaning this, even though the Koch brothers are radioactive in Democratic circles, it may not necessarily matter that they're radioactive. People will not necessarily make the connection that these new PACs are associated with the Koch brothers. Coming to a Democrat near you. We know the candidates will seldom agree with Americans for prosperity on every issue, she said. But for those that do the politically difficult job of leading on critical issues, these issue-specific PACs will make it clear why millions of Americans support them on that issue. It's not millions of Americans. It's millions of dollars. There's a difference in those things, even if they have principal disagreements on others. That's amazing. To be sure, the network has previously said it would be willing to support Democrats, but then opted to side with only Republicans instead. So the point is, they could be using this as a threat to Republicans. Look, if you don't toe the line that we want you to toe, we are going to be willing to give our dollars to Democrats. I got to be honest, I don't think that's better. Think about what we're saying here. In one way or the other, they're using their cash to either threaten Republicans or entice Democrats. In either situation, you're talking about a political system where cash is being the thing that is being used to try to compel behavior, because they know there are tens to millions to hundreds of millions of dollars that are involved in this process. They will either be used against your opponents or for you. How does that not compel behavior? My point in this, and going back from the beginning of this channel, is that both parties are bought. And that is something that you should not want in your political system. It's one thing if you and I have disagreements over issues that come up. If those disagreements are based on what is best for the population, it is fine that we have those disagreements. It's another thing when 1% of the population uses cash that they've been able to expropriate from the rest of the population to compel and influence the political system itself. That is problematic. In this very specific instance, the Koch brothers are saying either do our bidding or we will use this cash against you. Whether that threat is legit or not, meaning whether they'll be willing to give their money to Democrats or not, it's almost secondary to the point that that threat is out there, and that threat is a threat that they could deliver on. Your system is ensconced in cash. Why on earth do you want a political system where cash controls the edifice in this way? Why? Corruption is like, the Koch brothers are literally trying to bribe politicians at the height of their lungs. And the news media says, wow, these guys are open to bribing Democrats now. And nobody says, hey, should we have a political system where these guys could be bribing the politicians in this way? And does bribing politicians in this way and holding money out for the politicians in this way push their behavior in particular directions that may be counter to what the actual public wants? The 99% that doesn't have millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to dangle in front of their face. I understand why the 1% likes a system like this. I don't understand why the 99% is okay with it. You have dollars or you have pitchforks. It's time to have more pitchforks. I'll end this here. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting through PayPal or Patreon, liking the video, sharing the video. Thanks all.